Yes, now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Rants YouTube channel. I sincerely apologise. I have not uploaded these videos and I should have done a very long time ago. This video should have been up on Wednesday. It is now Monday. This is disgraceful. So you are getting a double upload tonight, right before Monday Night Raw, NXT review and SmackDown review. Right now, we are getting into the NXT review. Let's just talk about it, go through the divisions, start at the very, very top, or what should be the top, but is quite honestly not the most interesting. The NXT title division. As we know, we are starved of stars on NXT right now because Obafemi, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, the 3 stars we had and have been asking to move up to the main roster, have all suddenly, all at one time, moved over the main roster and we've been left with no stars. We should have been building up the other stars, you know. Trick should have went first, he had his time. Then Oba, when he lost that belt to Ricky. Or you should never have lost it. You should have relinquished it instead of losing it to Ricky. Javon maybe should have stayed a bit longer and finally won a title and then moved up. But we're here anyways. So when they did that ladder match, in my opinion, there was only 2 people I could see being an NXT champion. That was Ricky Sainz, because he was an already established star. Ethan Page, however, he was the North American champion. Or Tony D'Angelo, because he's the veteran. He's been there the longest now. It's honestly a time for him to move up, but they're still dragging him on. And I thought if they're going to drag him on, at least have him win the NXT title, drop it, stand and deliver, and then move up. No. Joe Hendry won it, which, from a sales and viewership standpoint, I can kind of get it, because you want a star. You want someone people get behind. He'd done numbers on social media last year, and he was a bit of a gimmick. To be honest, the gimmicks died down, because eventually, after the hype slows down, you start to notice the in-ring skills. The in-ring skills aren't exactly there. The physique isn't exactly there. The mic work, decent, I'll give him that. But apart from that, not the most exciting superstar. I'd actually rather have it, Ricky Sainz just take back the NXT title, to be honest. I'm hoping this isn't a long reign, but I can imagine it's probably going to go all the way through to stand and deliver. We've had a bit of a thing going on between Joe Hendry and Ricky Sainz. So as the night started, in came Ricky Sainz. Joe Hendry starts attacking him, goes out, cut a promo. Why is Joe Hendry attacking him? He's supposed to be the heel. I know he's making his life hell, but make it make sense. They cut a big promo on each other. And then they agree to a NXT title match at, is it Vengeance Day? Might be the upcoming one. So we're getting the NXT title match between Ricky Sainz and Joe Hendry. If I am the booker, I am putting Ricky Sainz over. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think if they are going to put Ricky Sainz over, it's not till stand and deliver. Which, I can understand. But I just don't think we're really going to get much from Joe Hendry being NXT champion. But maybe that's just me. You have every right to prove me wrong, and please do. I only want what's best for this. But besides that, Ricky Sainz still continuing on being friends with Ethan Page, even though they had a massive feud over the North American Championship that Ethan Page now holds. That was once Ricky Sainz. Doesn't care anymore, it's fine. And then he's still with Vanity Project, and ironically, Vanity Project entered the triple threat tag team match, making it a fatal 4-way tag team match that they weren't originally part of. It was meant to be the Culling, OTM, and Hank and Tank, but because the Vanity Project beat Hank and Tank last week, they got entered in this fatal 4-way match. And in my opinion, I wanted to see the Culling win, because Hank and Tank have been there, done that. OTM still need to build up a bit more hype. Vanity Project are brand new. The Culling have been around for some time. They have a good game plan, a good story going to potentially challenge for those tag team titles. I'd like to see them do something because of how long they've been around, and I think Dark State and the Culling might be quite an interesting rivalry. But no, Vanity Project got the win, which is just annoying because I don't see the hype. I see the hype in Jackson Drake, but he wasn't the one in the tag team match, and he's the Evolve champion still. While he's a full-time NXT roster member, seems silly to me. Drop that title. So yeah, I don't know, I think it might be next week. If not next week, it'll be Vengeance Day. But Vanity Project will challenge for the NXT Tag Team titles. And Lord, please, do not let them win. Just do not let them win. Dark State need to be established as dominant again. They came in the scene, beating up everybody like the Shield. And since then, I mean, they've not necessarily been weakened, but they did win the NXT titles. And then quickly lost them to the Hardy Boys, quickly won them back. And then, like, here and there, wins and losses, you know. They've been just tag team champions. That's all they've been, really. They've been trying to push a bit of soloist on Dion Lennox, which is why he passed the title over to Saquon Sugars. But when he didn't win that NXT title, he just kind of came back into the faction, and now he doesn't have a tag team belt, which is a shame. But he does have a bit of a feud going with Tony D'Angelo, as does the rest of Dark State, and Cutler James nominated himself to be the first to have that match, which I can respect. He's the weakest member, but he also gets used the least. So this will be the first good match, finally something for Cutler James to do. And in about 2 minutes, Tony D'Angelo handles him. Not good for Dark State, I'll be honest, considering they're meant to be a dominant faction. One of your members has just been done out in 2 minutes, but at least it was like the weakest member who hasn't done a whole lot, and it just makes Tony D'Angelo look very good. And I can imagine he's going to go through the rest of them. It's going to get harder and harder. We'll have Osiris Griffin, who will be hard because he's big. We'll have Saquon Sugars, who, in my opinion, should be the main guy, but it is what it is. And then we'll have Dion Lennox eventually. I'm just excited for Tony D to either win an NXT title or move up to that main roster, because it's Tony D'Angelo. He's actually quite cool. He has aura. Guy has aura. You know, when he defeated Luca, who we've not seen in forever, and Stax, who is now aligned with Lexis King, and Uriah Connors, who has dropped himself out with Chase U now, has tried getting on the same page with Charlie Dempsey, because apparently they knew each other from being kids. Wasn't going to work, but it is what it is. We had a couple of cool promo packages, like Keanu Carver, and a couple of cool backstage segments, like Fallon Henley asking, what's his face, Robert Stone, who used to be on JES, Robbie E, that she needs to start a women's speed tournament. And I agree, because we've done lots of men's speed tournament, but that women's speed title has been completely abandoned, so that's going to start next week. And speaking of speed titles, it was meant to be the finals of the speed tournament, Iliola Fleur against Eli Knight, the winner facing Jasper Troy. I still think it should be neither. It should have been Josh Briggs, because the story was there. They confronted each other weeks ago when we had everyone in the ring saying, oh, who's the best big man in NXT, and then you just didn't follow through with it. You went with Iliola Fleur and Eli Knight. I get it, one's from AAA, one's from Evolve. You're trying to build them both up, but my God, use Josh Briggs, man. The guy improved all for nothing. He got better on the mic, better in the ring, and it was for nothing. How am I? And their match, they went over time. They didn't finish in time, and Robert Stone said, you know what, that match was so good, I'm going to grant you both an opportunity. Usually, apparently, if no one wins in the time limit in that final, then no one would get the opportunity. But he said, no, I'm going to make it a triple threat match. Jasper, Ilio, and Eli. And because there's 3 members, that title match will not be 5 minutes, but it will be 7 minutes. So it's essentially just a normal match, a regular match. It is what it is. Jasper better retain. I don't want to see no Iliola Fleur or Eli Knight. I get the speed title kind of suits them, but the speed title also suits a dominant man like Jasper Troy, who can dispose of opponents in 5 minutes. It makes a whole lot of sense. We also had the Women's North American Champion Izzy Dame respond to Tatum Paxley's video package last week, you know, calling out stupidity, you know. Her and the Culling saying that they don't need people, and Tatum relied too much on people. And then we had more people asking for a shot at that Women's North American title, like Blake Monroe. No, I think actually Blake Monroe might be on about the speed title. I don't know. Blake Monroe got put in a match with Thea Hale next week by Robert Stone. That might be in the women's speed title tournament. It might be for the Women's North American title. I've got no clue. But my goodness, they dropped the ball with Blake Monroe when they accidentally lost her Women's North American title. Just put her in the NXT title picture, I'll be honest. I thought her and Jordan Grace would get fast-tracked there, but they didn't. Jordan Grace just bypassed it, and then Blake Monroe kind of was been trapped in the mid-card, but she can't move up to the main card because we've got a great story going between JC Jane and Sol Ruka. As we know, Sol Ruka won that opportunity. Zaria's meant to be pissed at that because we've got this massive story that Sol Ruka's always getting the opportunities. Her and Zarya are butting heads about it, and then one of them ends up in getting each other's way, and then they end up falling out again. And then this time it was finally snapped. It was Zarya, you know, saying, piss off, go away, you always get the opportunities, do it by yourself. And she went out there by herself to confront Fatal Influence, and they beat her down and berated her for how she doesn't have a friend by her side. Out comes Zarya to help Fatal Influence attack Sol Ruka, and instead it was actually a master plan for Zarya to help Sol Ruka get ahead on Fatal Influence, and they kind of hugged it out and whatever. Now, normally I'd say that's stupid. We've done all this build for them to eventually hug it out and make up. No, it's long-term storytelling. It's not going to happen yet. They're going to make us think, okay, it's all secure. They're fine now until it gets to the title match. Or Soruka winning the title. And then Zarya strikes. Either costs her or gets a shot at that NXT Women's Championship. But what I can confirm is Soruka and Zarya will happen at Stand and Deliver for the NXT Women's title. Bet your house on it. Which just means there's no space for Blake Monroe in that division right now, which is a shame. It's a shame for the lot of roster because they've got a very strong women's roster, like Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan, who've been feuding for time now. And in the last couple of weeks, Kalani Jordan's been injuring the hand of Lola Vice, and this was their eventual matchup that we were meant to have. Kalani getting the win, sad. I do prefer Lola Vice, but I can see why. You know, Kalani Jordan's got skill, and I do need to push her, so I ain't going to complain about it. I'm not too mad about it. I can live with it. And finally, I think the last thing to talk about is the main event. I think, actually, this time, a respectable main event. I think I respect this as a main event. A title match in the main event. All Ego Ethan Page, who is now the longest reigning North American champion of all time, and now the record holder for the most successful title defenses of the North American Championship. And he was to do that tonight against Shiloh Hill. If he lost to Shiloh Hill, he would have only tied the record. No, tied the record or beat the record. He wouldn't have beat the record if he lost to Shiloh Hill tonight. But obviously, he wasn't going to lose to Shiloh Hill. There was a bit of doubt. Slight bit of doubt. Because Shiloh Hill's been getting pushed lately. And MYLES BOURNE has this whole story going on with Ethan Page. And we thought maybe MYLES could cost Ethan Page. Because MYLES and Shiloh had this thing backstage. And, well, MYLES said, well, I can't wait to take that title off of Ethan Page. And, well, Shiloh's like, well, it might not be Ethan Page, it might be me. And he goes, no, it needs to be Ethan Page. So when that match was happening, I'm kind of sat there thinking, MYLES could probably cost him here. But no, Vanity Project came along and helped Shiloh Hill out. Ethan Page got the cheap win with Twisted Grin on the solid steel floor. Retains the title. Love to see it because Ethan Page is a great champion, the best NXT superstar. Out comes MYLES BOURNE to help Shiloh Hill get rid of Vanity Project. And then the one thing Ethan Page said to MYLES BOURNE earlier on in the night was, you could not make me give you a shot at this NXT North American title. You blew your opportunity. There is nothing you could do to make you grant you that opportunity. MYLES made him grant him that opportunity. MYLES got a chair, strapped it around his ankle, threatened to snap his ankle, and he's like, no, I'm not going to give you it. And it wasn't until MYLES jumped in the air about to land on it that Ethan Page screamed out and let him have it. And right there and then, MYLES got what he wanted. But Ethan Page had to plant that seed in his mind. He said, look, I knew you couldn't do it. I knew you didn't have that killer instinct. So he did it anyway. MYLES snapped, and he went a bit too far. And that's going to come back to bite him. Because, look, I'm a genius. This match should be happening next week. Right? Ethan Page defend that North American title against MYLES BOURNE. But this is the genius of Ethan Page. Getting in his head, making him think that will make him do it. Now Ethan Page can turn around to Robert Stone next week and say, my foot is injured because of what happened last week. I'm not defending this title. MYLES BOURNE isn't getting his opportunity because he injured my ankle. And if that happens, please just come back to me and say I was right, because I can say it. If it doesn't, fair enough. But it's still a good story anyway. But that's my thoughts on NXT. Decent episode. Sorry this took forever to get out. I'll do better next time. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.